Anishinaabe, and neutral people. We recognize the enduring presence of Indigenous people with whom we share this land today and their contributions to our community. In particular, I'd like to give a warm welcome to our dignitaries joining us, the Honourable Todd McCarthy, Ontario's Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery and the MPP for Durham. As well, welcome to our local members of Provincial Parliament, MPP Brian Riddell, MPP Mike Harris, and MPP Jess Dixon. What brings us all together here today is a disturbing and complex fraud scheme that specifically targets vulnerable citizens. The registration of Notice of Security Interest, or NOSIs, on a house has morphed into a sophisticated fraud scheme where a victim's home can be held hostage. I'd like to extend our services appreciation to the Government of Ontario for their ongoing support in recognizing the true scale of the problem of NOSIs. In doing so, they join WRPS in their commitment to protecting the most vulnerable citizens from falling victim to incidents of fraud. Soon you will hear from Detective Adam Stover from our Financial and Property Crime Division. We're very proud of Detective Stover and all the investigative efforts by members of our service to bring this fraud to the public forefront. As fraud schemes become more and more sophisticated, it requires law enforcement, government, and other partners working together to adapt to provide solutions to combat these crimes. With that, I'd now like to welcome Minister McCarthy for an exciting announcement. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Chief Crowell, for the kind introduction, and to the entire Waterloo Regional Police Service for hosting today's important announcement. Thank you, Mayor Jan Liggett, for joining us today and for representing the great people of Cambridge. I'm also happy to have Detective Adam Stover from the Financial and Property Crime Division with us, as well as my colleagues, our Ministry's Parliamentary Assistant, Brian Riddell, MPP Mike Harris, and MPP Jess Dixon. Before we begin, I wish to thank all of you for your tireless work and your advocacy. This has paved the way for today's announcement. I'm proud to announce that this afternoon I will be introducing the Homeowner Protection Act 2024. This landmark legislation, if passed, will significantly strengthen protections for homeowners and for buyers of new freehold homes. It represents a comprehensive approach to protecting consumers from unethical practices, improving transparency, supporting strong condominium communities, and safeguarding buyers of new homes. At the core of this proposed legislation is the fulfillment of our government's promise to protect Ontarians, especially seniors, newcomers, and the most vulnerable. We must protect them from the harm caused by the misuse of notices of security interest, also known as NOSIs. NOSIs can be registered on the land registry by a business when it rents, finances, or leases certain goods that become fixtures in homes, such as water heaters or furnaces. Now, initially, NOSIs were intended to register interests in financed appliances. However, over the past few years, they have become tools for organized and deliberate deception used to scam hardworking Ontarians. Since the early 2000s, the number of NOSIs registered on Ontario's land registry has skyrocketed from around 2,000 each year to more than 58,000 in 2023 alone. These registrations often occur without the homeowner's knowledge and for amounts far exceeding the fixture's actual value. Homeowners usually discover NOSIs when they want to sell or refinance their homes, and then bad actors exploit this by demanding exorbitant fees to discharge them. In some instances, multiple NOSIs are registered on a single property, which are later converted into sham mortgages that rob hardworking and law-abiding Ontarians of their life savings and their home equity. This must stop. To that end, I am tabling the most comprehensive legislation to curb these unethical, immoral, and shameful practices. Our proposed legislation will ban the registration of consumer NOSIs on the land registry system and deem all currently registered consumer NOSIs expired. This legislation has been developed following extensive consultations across Ontario with consumer advocates, law enforcement, legal professionals, seniors advocates, families of victimized seniors, and businesses of all types. Rest assured, our government has the backs of Ontarians, particularly our seniors and the most vulnerable. On behalf of the government, I wish to thank Chief Mark Kroll and the entire Waterloo Regional Police Service, especially Detective Adam Stover, for their invaluable work on this issue. Detective Stover's efforts have been instrumental in investigating and documenting the harms caused by nosies. It is because of his and the Waterloo Regional Police Service's tireless efforts that we are here today to take a stand against those who seek to victimize our fellow citizens and residents. I also wish to express my gratitude to my parliamentary assistant, Brian Riddell, and MPP Mike Harris, who have been working tirelessly with our ministry and law enforcement to make today's announcement a reality. Thank you both for your crucial roles in highlighting this issue and driving our government's efforts to address it, and for being such strong advocates for your constituents. Our proposed bill, if passed, will also introduce a 10-day cooling-off period for new freehold home purchases. This will allow buyers time to review agreements and perform due diligence. Now, let me be clear. This 10-day cooling-off period is not a new concept. In fact, it has been a long-standing practice for condo purchases. It is crucial that we extend this protection to new or pre-construction homes to ensure that buyers have time to fully understand their contracts and mitigate any risks arising from high-pressure sales tactics. We are committed to ensuring that everyone benefits from a fair, informed marketplace, giving them more choice and more time to make the best decisions for themselves and their families. It has been a pleasure highlighting some of the key initiatives in this proposed bill, a bill that is a true testament to our government's unwavering commitment to build a safer, fairer, and stronger economy now and for future generations. I would like now to invite my dear colleague and parliamentary assistant, Brian Riddell, to the podium to say a few words. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Minister McCarthy, for your steadfast leadership in this extremely important issue. As the MPP for Cambridge and Parliamentary Assistant to Minister McCarthy, it is my pleasure and privilege to be here this morning with the Waterloo Regional Police and my fellow members of caucus and Mayor Leggett. I'm extremely proud to speak today on our government's intention to ban all nosies on consumer goods to protect all Ontarians. In my riding of Cambridge, I have heard from countless constituents on almost a weekly basis that have been negatively affected by the fraudulent use of nosies. I want to commend the Waterloo Regional Police for their work to combat these fraudulent practices and for their consultations with me and my colleagues to help create this proposed legislation. The work of Detective Adam Stover and David Mullock cannot go unnoticed. I've had many meetings with them and received regular updates on new and upsetting nosy cases. Their sincere passion for protecting the citizens of Waterloo Region from nosies must be commended. My colleagues and I in the region of Kitchener-Waterloo will continue to work in lockstep with law enforcement to ensure issues related to nosies are eradicated. I would now like to invite my friend and caucus colleague, MPP Mike Harris, to the podium to say a few words. Thank you.
So this is a very exciting day, not only for Waterloo Region, but obviously all of Ontario. And it was just over a year ago that I got a call from David Mullock. Say, Mike, we want to talk to you about something called nosies. And of course, I'm like, well, what is that? So we came down to this very building, and we sat with David and with Detective Stover for probably over an hour. And talked a little bit about what we could do to truly help the people of Ontario, and especially some of our most vulnerable seniors, as they're the ones who often are taken advantage of with these nosy schemes. So a big thank you, a big heartfelt thank you to WRPS, everybody that's here, the team that's worked so hard on this, and also to other police services across the province. I know that WRPS has liaised with the OPP and also Niagara Regional Police and some other forces to really help inform government and to curb the use of nosies across the province. And kudos to Minister McCarthy and all the hard work his team has done, PA Riddell. This has all come together in about a year, and for those of you, who know government, that's pretty quick. And to see such comprehensive legislation being introduced, I am over the moon. And I know that Detective Stover doesn't necessarily like the spotlight, but we're going to shine it on him for a second. And the hard work that he's done is just incredible. And I want to now invite him to the podium to talk a little bit more about what nosies are and how this legislation is going to help really push them out of the province of Ontario. So thank you, sir, for all the hard work you've done. Thank you.
So good morning. I'm very pleased to be here today with the announcement of Minister McCarthy and the provincial government. Door-to-door scams and the use of nosies have been an issue for over a decade. And for the last few years, last 3 years in particular, they've been a tool used by organized crime in conjunction with private predatory lending to target our most vulnerable. And that is, it's leading to the loss of victims' life savings and even their homes. Over the last 2 years, and I've heard my name here a lot in Waterloo Regional Police, but we'd be remiss. And when I talk about team, over the last 2 years, I've been fortunate to work with some outstanding people and probably an unprecedented collaboration between multiple different industries. We're talking about lawyers, law clerks, regulatory bodies, Crown attorneys, David Mullock, the media, and of course the government. So I have to acknowledge that effort. And the amount of work that they've done in conjunction with me. I'm here as the face, obviously, but it's been a lot of work that's gone into it to get to where we're at today. So MPP Harris, MPP Riddell, MPP Dixon, and Minister McCarthy and his staff who are here today, among many other MPPs I've had the opportunity to speak to. I have to commend them for actually listening to the problem. It's a complex issue, so they listened to the problem and they sifted through the noise, and there was a lot of noise. They arrived at the solution today, and I recognize that this solution or this news is going to come with some disappointment to some that are affected by the change. It's important to understand that the upstanding companies that were previously utilizing nosy as practice, I believe they'll adapt and they'll thrive without its use. What the removal of nosies does is it eliminates the predators. It serves to remove likely over, and I say this with confidence, over $1 billion that are sitting on Ontario's citizens' titles. It's going to put that money back into the homeowner's pocket and remove it from organized crime. Organized crime had been using these nosies and predatory lending to liquidate the equity from our vulnerable seniors' homes, and with this legislation, it's going to stop it. Minister McCarthy and his staff have provided an unbelievable attention and support to this issue. I've had many meetings with them, and it's been greatly appreciated by many of us, myself, and all the other people, the other police services that have been fighting this. There's been a lot of communication, and we really, really appreciate the attention that they've given us. The introduction of this legislation is a significant step. I would be remiss if I stood here today and I didn't say that the introduction is great of this legislation, but we really need all party support, and we need this to move through the process very, very quickly. We need this bill to become legislation in place. Otherwise, while this nosy is still in effect, Ontarians are going to be vulnerable to the use of the powerful nosy used by predators. So on behalf of the victims and those that speak on behalf of the victims, so everybody that I've been working with, we're pleased with today's announcement. And we're very thankful to the provincial government. So that's all I have to say, and I'd like to introduce, there you go, Mr. McCarthy back. Thank you.
We are very happy now to open the floor to questions.
Please state your name, outlet, and stick to one question and one follow-up, please.
Hi, I'm Brent Kaner. I'm with City News 570 here in Kitchener. I just have one question. You mentioned, well, it was mentioned in the presser here that seniors are a particular victim of these nosies. And for them or anyone else that might be a victim of them, is there any potential way for future victims to recognize this crime and how to report it in the future if it does happen to them?
Well, the plan with this proposed legislation is to have the backs of our elderly. The elderly have been the target of this type of organized crime because they paid off their homes, because they have equity in their homes. And we're coming to their rescue with this proposed legislation because we need to protect current victims and potential future victims. So the two key components of that are, first, that nosies going forward will be abolished, will not be able to be registered for consumer goods in relation to land registry, and then those that are currently on the titles of homes across the province amounting to $1 billion in potential fraud, those will be deemed expired upon this bill receiving royal assent.
Thank you.
I'll let you off easy today.
If there are no other questions, this press conference is now concluded. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.